Hello folks and welcome to Formula One Paddock Pass, your post-race debrief from the Chinese Grand Prix 2018. A race that didn't look like it was going to be a classic. About 15 laps in, it looked, let's be honest, fairly dull. But it ended in just a brilliant contest. Tons of overtaking, strategies playing out, all thanks to a safety car. But it began with both Ferraris on the front row, Vettel and Räikkönen, and at the start, Vettel defended from his teammate, in so doing, pushing his teammate back, not just into second, but down into fourth. Up into second place came Bottas, into third Verstappen. As we said, Räikkönen fourth, in fifth place was Hamilton, in sixth place was Daniel Ricciardo. The different strategies being employed was because of the tyre that the guys used in qualifying 2 on Saturday. Ultimately, the Mercedes and the Ferraris were on soft tyres, the Red Bulls were on the ultra soft, so the Red Bulls naturally were the first cars to pit. Not so long after that though, Mercedes jumped into the pits and Ferrari then had a choice on their hands. Ultimately, they reacted too late, and by the time they brought race leader Sebastian Vettel into the pits, he emerged behind Valtteri Bottas. Ferrari then decided to keep Kimi Räikkönen out. They kept him out as long as they could. Räikkönen's time falling off, eventually backing Bottas up towards Vettel. At least that was the plan, until Bottas got past. They brought Räikkönen in, and we thought the order was pretty much settled. Räikkönen having lost so much time, sort of falling back through the field, being kept on those soft tyres from the start, that he emerged in 6th place. Then, though, the moment that changed the race. Safety car was called out after the 2 Toro Rossos came together at the hairpin, and there was debris on track. The Red Bulls took that opportunity to pit for soft tyres, and they were then the fastest cars on track. Max Verstappen had the track advantage though over Daniel Ricciardo. The race was coming, so Verstappen flying through the field, but Verstappen, as we know, he's an aggressive driver, he's a forceful driver, and just that touch too impetuous. Went wheel to wheel with Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton kept his elbows out. Verstappen got biffed off the track, came back on again. Then Verstappen with a, shall we say, ill-advised move on Sebastian Vettel. They touched, they spun. Vettel's day at that point essentially over. He came home 8th. Verstappen handed a 10-second penalty, his chance of the win over. That then put the advantage in Daniel Ricciardo's hands, and he took it beautifully. Racing, I mean, stunningly, and pulling off beautiful overtaking moves on the Mercedes drivers, on the Ferrari drivers, to take first place and take a very unexpected victory, when you consider as well the fact that in FP3 his engine went bang. The boys had to change the engine, got him out in qualifying with 2 minutes to spare in Q1. From a point at which this weekend looked disastrous, pulled it back. Race victory for Daniel Ricciardo, 2nd place Valtteri Bottas. Kimi Räikkönen, whose weekend had looked like it had been chucked in the skip by a horrible strategy from Ferrari, ultimately coming home on the podium. An unexpected result and a brilliant race, clutched out of what had looked to be not exactly a classic. Ended up being anything but. So yeah, great day, great result, and Daniel Ricciardo just as smiley, if not smilier, than ever. How do you look?
Still fat lip, it's all right.
What happened?
I bit it in like Bahrain, and then it just started swelling, so I don't know. Looks kind of gross, but I won, so I don't care.
Talk us through it, man.
Get it sorted.
Well, yeah, you probably should think about it.
No, I won't say it on camera. It's all right. Okay. It's nothing to be alarmed about.
Good. The win today, phenomenal. Unexpected, perhaps, but how joyful are you right now?
Yeah, just over the moon. I really... every win has been like crazy for me. I feel like I haven't really had a boring win yet. And yeah, it sinks in, but it doesn't. Like, it's still... My head is going... I nearly make myself dizzy because I'm just kind of going over the whole thing. And I'm emotional, and I'm... I don't know, there's just a lot going on, but I can certainly enjoy it. You know, right now in my heart is full, and just very, very stoked.
And you made some amazing moves to take that victory. Which was your favourite?
They all felt good, but the one on Valtteri, obviously the one for the lead, that was cool.
Squeaky bum time for that one.
Yeah, it was close, but it was all right. I like to make them exciting. Every other move I made, I didn't come on the radio. I was very relaxed, I guess. I really knew that the car was good enough to win, and until I got into the lead, I wasn't yet satisfied, if you know what I mean. So the team was getting into me like, good job, keep going. But I was, in my mind, the job wasn't done yet. And then once I got Valtteri, the move was fun, but then also I was able to sit back and enjoy it. And I wish there was only 2 laps to go, but I had a few more to circle around and just hope that nothing went bang. So it was a good effort from everyone.
Well, you mentioned that. I mean, how good is this? How good does this feel? Not just for you, but for the entire team, for all your boys that FP3, you got flames licking out the back of your car. You very nearly didn't make it into Q1. 2 minutes to spare on the clock, and now you stand here a race winner.
It's giggling like a schoolboy. It's crazy. It really is. For them, I'm sure their high right now is maybe even higher than mine. They put us in this position. You know, if I didn't get out in Q1 yesterday by 2 minutes or something, we wouldn't be fighting for the win today. So they deserve this victory as much as anyone else. And I just over the moon, really am.
A podium won or a victory lost?
Victory lost, definitely. It's a shame. It felt like a really good race from us as a team. I think we maximized everything at the race start. Also around the pit stop, the team did perfect with the timing. I think at least it felt like my quickest pit stop ever and my best outlap ever, and we got ahead of Sebastian. So then in the end, with the safety car not having an option to come in because we were already past the safety car line 1, it's a shame. The cars behind, they had an option and they could get the benefit.
As you said, you played the strategy perfectly, you and the team today. Sebastian made the point of questioning why it takes so long for a safety car to be called. Why at that particular point, having had so long to see there's debris there, why they wait until you've crossed the line? Do you understand that?
Not really. We already, I think we went past that point at least twice, and it was obvious that there was debris. And if they're waiting to deploy the safety car, why they wouldn't deploy it in the place that it's fair for everyone? It's completely unfair for me and Sebastian that we had no option to either stop or not, and all the cars behind, they had an option to stop or stay on track. So I don't see the thinking behind it.
So after these first 3 races, are you happy to have got the results that you have, or actually no, are you happy that you've got the results you have, and also are you happy that you came so close twice to getting that victory?
Well, happy and unhappy. I'm here to win. All I want is to win races. Last weekend was so close. I think this weekend as well. So it's the worst feeling when you nearly get it, but you don't. But it makes me even more hungry. It makes us even more hungry as a team. There's so many races still to go, so no worries.
Kimi, when the strategy first came through for you in the race to stay out on those tyres, what were your thoughts?
Hard to say. Obviously you never know how it's gonna plan out until you finish the race. But to be honest, without the safety car, we were a bit not in a very strong position. But obviously afterwards, you could say that we had fresher tires, after the safety car, it paid off. But it's I guess on that position you try different thing and hope you get something out of it.
As you say, in the end it ended up being a very lucky decision to stay on those. How good did you feel towards the end of the race? How much did you enjoy getting back on the podium?
I don't know, it was a very enjoyable race, but obviously the end result wasn't too bad. But I think I had decent speed in the end against the guys that were in the same tyres. But always when you get close, you need to have a pretty big offset on a grip, and because you lose so much grip getting closer and closer. So speed, for sure we were faster than Valtteri, but you lose so much downforce, especially in this kind of circuit. The corners leading up to the kind of overtaking areas you need grip and downforce. So just couldn't get enough run on him, but we'll take the 3rd place.
So that's your top 3. Räikkönen, I think it's fair to say, a little miffed by the strategy that he was put on by the team. Last year, we asked the question a lot, and a lot of people did ask the question of the strategy that the team was using on him, essentially using him as cannon fodder every so often to try and back people up and mess with their strategy. And it seemed like they were doing that with him today. That's not why Kimi goes racing. So I wonder, where Kimi's head will be at in future races. But anyway, he managed to pull out a podium while Vettel ultimately finished way down the order. Today, though, I think must be quite a disappointment for Mercedes. They came into this weekend having never gone 3 races in a row in the hybrid era without taking a win, and that now is something which is the fact. They've gone that 3 races. Bottas, so close to the win again. Hamilton, though, really never looked like being a race winner this weekend, other than on Friday practice. But from qualifying day onwards, it just went south. You can't win them all, that much is true, but why did it go so wrong for Lewis Hamilton this weekend? He finished 4th, but yeah, not up to what he wanted or what he's used to.
Yeah, it was definitely a bad weekend, I would say.
Did it all really get decided at the start, obviously, with you needed to make those moves, but with the Red Bull getting through and with Kimi dropping to where he did that pretty much put you out?
I think that definitely didn't help, but I think pace-wise I just didn't have the pace from yesterday onwards. The Friday was really good, and then I got into Saturday, the car was terrible balance-wise, and it was the same today.
Is it difficult to get out of a sort of a spiral when things start to go against you, to stop them all from sort of stacking up?
It is, and all you got to try and do is just trying to keep your head up and keep chugging away, and that's what I did out there. I kept plugging away, but I mean I was in a different race to those that are around me. Didn't have the pace, particularly like I had in the last race. So I've got to try and figure out what it is, because it can't have disaster weekends like this. Yeah. So Hamilton then, I think, hoping that his championship gets going a little bit better when we get to Baku. A lot of people will ask the question, why didn't Mercedes pit? Certainly Hamilton again. Bottas, as you've heard, once the safety car came out, he was past the safety car line and wouldn't have worked out for him. But why didn't they pit Hamilton? Well, the reason is they didn't have enough sets of tyres, fresh tyres anyway, to make that kind of strategy work as it had done for Red Bull. Or one Red Bull anyway. Let's talk about Max Verstappen. Daniel Ricciardo, of course, race winner. Max Verstappen, though, back in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. 2 contacts during the race. Was it contact with Lewis? It was edgy, wasn't it? Or did he just go off the track before? I don't think there was contact there. Maybe there was. There certainly was with Sebastian Vettel. Now, the two of them had a bit of a chat after the race before they came into the pen. Seb has already been fairly conciliatory in his tone towards Max in his interview, and what follows now with our interview with Max Verstappen, he's taken a hit recently. I've sort of been as vocal, I think, as anybody in saying that Max has a tendency not to be introspective. He tends sometimes not to look back and admit fault. And there was a fear, certainly after Bahrain, that, here is Max again, this young guy who is so exciting to watch, getting a bit carried away with himself, and that if he doesn't learn to look at himself, to be introspective and learn from his mistakes, will he ever achieve the levels of greatness that we all believe he holds inside himself? What follows now, I think you'll see, I hope I'm not teeing this up too much, is a more introspective Max Verstappen, certainly than I've seen, certainly in his time in Formula 1.
Arriving to Seb, tried to go on the inside. I saw him locking up a bit, but then I locked the rears and hit him. So, of course, 100% my fault. Now, stepping out of the car, and yes, of course, not what I want, what nobody wants, but yeah, so far in the races it's not going my way. So I have to just look into everything and try to learn from it and come back stronger in Baku.
Nobody wants to see you change your style of racing. Nobody wants to stop you attempting moves. As you say, you need to look at the way in which you race. Do you think you need a bit of introspection to learn to wait, or is that just against what Max Verstappen is as a racer?
Well, I don't think I necessarily need to change a lot of things. It's just I need to learn, of course, from what happened today. I don't think necessarily I need to be less aggressive or anything, because that's nothing to do with being overly aggressive. Maybe it's just wanting too much, and maybe I should just not even calm down. It's just maybe oversee the situation a little bit more. I don't know why. I think I was quite good in that before, but somehow this year, maybe with the previous 2 races, not going your way, you want to recover points, and it's working against you at the moment. So of course, this is definitely not what I want, and I think, it's again a life lesson.
P6 in the race today was Nico Hülkenberg. Had another brilliant run. He's having a really good start to the season. When the tyres were starting to go off the Mercedes and the Ferraris towards the end of the race, one wondered if he might be looking potentially at his first Formula One podium. It didn't quite work out for him that way, but I think another weekend of which he's got a lot to be proud of. Great race, more points, and I think a solid foundation certainly for Renault looking to the rest of the season. Nico, another fantastic race for you today. Happy with the result?
Yes, I am. I think achieved the maximum. It's been a fun and entertaining race also, so yeah, that's always good and enjoyable. So happy about the weekend.
I think the big question now is we've had 3 races. We've had a street track, we've had a warm race in Bahrain, we've had this kind of track as well. What do you feel about the package going forward for the rest of the season? Now we've had all of those different kind of circuits.
The package is good. It's competitive for the midfield for sure, but obviously for our taste, a little bit too far away from the front runners. That gap is a little bit too big for my taste and for the team's taste. But we're working very hard to try and close that. I think the midfield is also incredibly tight with Haas, with McLaren. It depends a little bit sometimes. Day form, luck, who is going to come out on top. But I feel that we are definitely in the ballpark there. We're competitive and we can challenge all these midfield teams.
So Hülkenberg finished ahead of one of the Ferraris, so too did Fernando Alonso, and he will have been, I'm sure, delighted with that. It's yet another finish in the points for him this season, P7 at the checkered flag for the Spaniard.
Yeah, it was good. Again on Sunday, for different reasons, we seem to deliver better than any other day on the weekend. That's good because the points are given on Sundays. But yeah, it was a great race. P13 on the start, P11 on the first lap. Good battles. I think the safety car didn't play to our hands today. We had obviously a good fresh tire to the end, and the safety car give the opportunity to everyone to pit. And yeah, I think at the end with the Haas and with Sebastian, good battles, and we managed to score a great 7th place.
Now, we've already talked to Max Verstappen. What about the guy that he ultimately made contact with? It was one of the stories of the race. Sebastian Vettel arguably should have won today. Pole position, looked in inspired, dominant form during the Grand Prix until that first pit stop. Obviously switched the position with Bottas, and then that contact with Verstappen towards the end of the race, pushing him down the order, clearly carrying some damage, possibly with his tyres, possibly with his car, towards the end of the contest. He still leads the championship, but not by as great a margin as he would have hoped. Obviously the strategy didn't work out in the first instance.
Well, I think we had a very good first stint, and then obviously it's never nice when you come out and you are just behind. So I don't think we need to remind. I think we know that we could have done better at that point. After that, yeah, obviously safety car hurt us quite badly because we had no chance to react, whereas other cars could. So it just came 5 seconds, 10 seconds too late, which that I don't understand. If you have the power to change the race, why would you? The debris were there for 2 laps, so just pull the trigger 30 seconds earlier or 10 seconds earlier, so that the cars have an idea and a chance to react. But that's how it was. After that, I think it was clear that there was no chance for us to win because the Red Bulls were on fresh tires. Even Kimi, I think. Was he? No? Yeah, he went past when I crashed with. We crashed. Max and I crashed. Anyways, after that, I wasn't really going to resist, and obviously Max misjudged the braking, and I think we were both lucky to continue, but sort of impacted our race.
You last week, Lewis called Max a certain something, and that came up in the press conference. What are your feelings towards his style of driving at the moment?
Well, he came straight away. He apologized. Obviously, I think he knows he'd done a mistake, so I don't think he needs much reminders. Obviously, it was a tricky braking for the hairpin all race. There was tailwind, and at that point, he has 15 laps to go. I wasn't, as I said, going to resist much anyways. In fact, I was waiting for him to come down the inside. He didn't. So I wasn't sure where exactly he was. I gave him a bit of room. As you can see, I wasn't, right at the apex, in case he misjudges braking. But obviously he misjudged more than I thought. And to some degree you can factor in people's mistakes, but not always. In that case, it didn't work. I think we're both lucky that we could continue. But as I said, it sort of destroyed both our races. But no need to call him anything. I think he knows, I know, so it's fine.
Now, Vettel had his mirrors full as he crossed the finish line in the Chinese Grand Prix from another Renault driver. Carlos Sainz has not had the start to the season he would have liked, isn't quite as comfortable with the car as is Nico Hülkenberg, but back in the points today, happy about it, certainly looks a lot more competitive than he, I think, because he feels a bit more comfortable this weekend than he did in the opening 2 races. Carlos Sainz getting back into that form that he had showed so brilliantly at the end of last season.
Carlos, great points today. An exciting race, a tough race, and staring at the back of a Ferrari over the line. How was it for you?
Yeah, it was a pretty good race. We got a very good start, managed to get past Nico and Checo in front of me, but then I went for the Red Bull in front and he pushed me out. I don't know which Red Bull was that. I completely he ran me out of road. From there it was recovery time again, and we managed to cover our 2 stops with the safety car, and in the last stint I was pushing to get past Fernando and Magnussen. I degraded a bit too much the fronts there, and yeah, unfortunately I couldn't get Vettel in the end because I was also struggling a bit with the tires, but in general a very positive race, double points finish for the team, so we keep improving.
Do you feel more yourself today?
Yeah, I keep feeling better every time on the car. Little by little, I feel like we're getting there. This race we had a bit of an issue with degradation. You know, the front tires, we were killing them. So as soon as we got 2-3 laps behind the car, it was very difficult to get those front tires working again. But in general, feeling happier. It's a shame about that second stop not to come out a bit more in front, because it would have been an easy cruise to the line.
Now, one team that has made a name for themselves, certainly in the early part of this season, has been Haas. Arguably, we thought coming into the year anyway, the 4th quickest car. Didn't really go their way today. They looked good in the early part of the race. The safety car didn't quite come out at the right time for them. Grosjean wasn't that happy with the team switching him and Magnussen to try and make Kevin's strategy work. Ultimately, Roman just didn't have the pace on the ultra-softs in the early running to really make that strategy work for himself, as a lot of the ultra-soft runners found. So tough day in the office for Haas, not as many points as they would like, but Magnussen coming home in 10th did at least salvage 1 point for the American team at the Chinese Grand Prix.
Kev, points. I guess not as many as you'd hoped for, but it was such a crazy race. Talk us through it.
Yeah, just got unlucky with the safety car. Our strategy paid off to begin with, and then we just got the safety car at a bad time and didn't, get the advantage out of the strategy that we would have had otherwise. I don't know if we should have pitted. I think it was a tough choice. I just think the safety car came at a very unlucky time, and it meant we couldn't score any more points than 1, which is still okay, but we hope for a bit more. But still a long season, and we keep scoring points. So.
You said you'd know after these first 3 races, or have a better idea anyway, of the pace potential of this car. How happy are you? How confident are you now for the rest of the season?
Pretty happy. I'm very proud of what we not what we've achieved, because we could have achieved more. But I'm really proud of what we how we are performing, and we need to keep that up.
And so to the teams that didn't quite get into the points today, Sahara Force India, the closest, 11th and 12th for them at the flag, Ocon ahead of Perez. Really wasn't their weekend. It had looked possible that they could have scored points at 1 point in the race, but neither driver ever really massively happy with the car. The biggest issue for them right now seems to be there is a basic design fault with the car, and it's at the rear. And its stability at the rear of the car. They need to get that sorted, and they're not going to have a fix for it, they don't think, until the European season starts in Barcelona. So until they get that sorted, obviously the front end's not doing what it should, because the rear end's not doing what it should, and so because of that, tyre wear's an issue, everything's an issue. They've been lucky to score a point at the last round in Bahrain, not so lucky today.
Tough race for Force India today, so close to points though.
Yeah, it was really close. We lost some time at the start, a bit of a messy start, and then we were in the points, from there on all the race until that safety car came. And unfortunately, I didn't have enough pace, to pass Grosjean. He was defending for his life and, defended pretty well. So I got stuck there and lost some time, and that compromised us getting Magnussen at the end. But what we have to remember is that the pace was good today. We didn't get overtake on track properly, so we have to keep going, and the points will come.
So the Force India boys 11th and 12th. 13th place Stoffel van Dorn for McLaren. 14th and 15th the Williamses, Lance Stroll and Sorokin. Stroll actually had a really good start to the race, flew up through the field. Again, didn't quite work out for them. Then, next up, Marcus Ericsson, P16, and we're going to hear from him now. One of the standout drivers of the first 2 races of the year. Yeah, Sauber just didn't really have it this weekend. Along with Toro, Rosso, 2 of the biggest performers in Bahrain. They were 2 of the worst performers here this weekend. But Ericsson, at least, I think has some positivity to take out of the second half of the race and the performance that he showed on the medium tyre.
Really tough day today for Sauber, but how happy are you ultimately with the pace that you were able to show?
I think the race has sort of 2 phases for me and for the team. I think the first of all, I had a really good start, but then was a bit unlucky in the first lap, so I lost some positions. And then the whole first stint, I was struggling a lot with the balance of the car and struggling to keep the pace, and it was just a very difficult first stint. I was trying to sort of get into the rhythm, but it just didn't work very good. But we stretched it really long to try and get our one stop to work, and then of course we boxed, and then the next lap the safety car came out, so we didn't really get the gain from it, which we hoped for. But I think from that point the race changed for us, because after the safety car the pace on the medium was really strong actually, and we could keep the same pace as the whole midfield ahead of us. So it's just a shame that the first part was a bit too weak to be able to mix it up today, but we take the positives from the second half and build from that.
And so to the team and ultimately the moment that changed the race, Toro Rosso. As we said, they had such a good race weekend in Bahrain, coming here nowhere near that same pace, nowhere near that same performance towards the back of the field for the entire day, and ultimately contact between Pierre Gasly and Brendan Hartley ruined both of their races. Gasly got a 10-second penalty, and the safety car that came out is the thing that changed the entire feel and the entire result of the Chinese Grand Prix. But was it as simple as Pierre Gasly making a move on his teammate and getting it wrong? The answer is no.
It was really embarrassing, because for sure that's the last thing I want to crash with my teammates. And basically we were on different strategies, and the team told us before the race that at some point we could probably swap places, and they told me on the radio he will let me pass at the end of the straight. And I saw he started to lift before the braking, so I went on the inside thinking he will let me pass, and finally when I was in, then it just turned. So I didn't have any space. I don't know if they told him on the radio, I don't know if he saw me, or once I was inside I could not do anything, and then I hit him, so that was it, and just ruined our both races. So I'm sorry for him, and I don't really understand what's happened, because it was they told me on the radio, and finally we need to talk about it. But sorry for him, and it was a pretty bad Sunday for us.
I think in hindsight, we started on the wrong tyre. We started on massively different strategies between the 2 cars. When we were starting at the back, that was the way to do it. But on the ultra soft at the beginning, I just didn't have any pace, so we tried to get off them as soon as possible. Pace on the medium seemed okay, and then I had this accident with Pierre. I haven't seen a replay yet, but we swapped positions earlier in the race. I let him by on the exit at 14. We were asked again to swap positions, and I got hit at the apex. So I haven't seen the replay, and I haven't spoken to the team, but my guess was a miscommunication. And at the end we had everything turned down, from my opinion. I don't know why we had to box, but I helped straight out of the car and had to come here.
So that is your lot from Paddock Pass here in China. An unexpected winner on a day where the unexpected happened out on track. It was an absolute thriller. But now we move on to Baku in just a couple of weeks' time, where last year we had an unexpected winner, a thrilling race. And again, it was that Red Bull man, Daniel Ricciardo, who put his name at the top of the list. Now, here's an interesting thing. Coming here, everyone was talking about Daniel Ricciardo and his future. Would it lie at Red Bull? Would it lie at Mercedes? Would it lie at Ferrari? Well, after his drive today, one might suggest he's put a 0 at the end of the figure that he'll be asking in contract negotiations with Red Bull. And he's put a very big Daniel Ricciardo-sized CV on the desks at Ferrari and Mercedes. A great race, a great result, a great winner. We'll see you in Baku in 2 weeks' time. From us here in China, it's a very warm goodbye.